Welcome to another edition of the Bethel Culture Podcast, where we seek to inform, influence, and inspire through a number of different things. My name is Weston. I'm one of the co-lead pastors, joined by...
Hey, I'm Pastor Kevin. Good to be here with you all. And I'm also joined by...
Toni Doubet.
All right, Toni, welcome. First time on the podcast.
Have you ever listened to the podcast before?
Yes, I have.
Oh, good answer.
Nice,
good
nice.
answer.
My favorite one was with last year, the Cardinal baseball. You and Andrew were
Yeah.
kind of going at it.
Everybody loves baseball.
Mm.
It is that season again. Well, Toni, why don't you, we know you pretty well, but not everybody else does. So why don't you give us a little introduction to yourself?
Well, I'm here today to talk about the library, but my name is Toni Doubet, married to Brian for 42 years. We live just west of Galesburg, out in the country. We have one son, and we have three grandchildren, 6, 4, and 2. And I worked at the high school. I don't know if many of you knew that, but I worked in the high school for over 23 years. Various jobs, secretary.
So I remember just seeing you all around the main office there.
Right.
How long have you been coming to Bethel, and what have you been doing around here?
So we've been coming to Bethel, my husband and I, and Dan, of course, when he was little, for 32 years.
Wow.
I tried to remember when we started. And we've been involved in several different things. I did a lot of Sunday school for preschool, helped out in that area, Vacation Bible School, Awana, most recently 3rd through 5th Children's Church, counting team, the Bread of Life Ministry, greeters.
So yeah, it's kind of like the school. You've done a lot around here.
Helped you guys in the front office a little.
I say, yeah, you're one of our fill-in secretaries.
Which goes to show there are tons of ministries that you can get involved in. We were just talking about this week, that there's, the list could go on, and even the unofficial Bethel ones that, aren't officially a ministry team here at Bethel, but are still just, there's a lot of ways you can get involved and serve and
meet other people.
Yeah.
So, and their children.
Right. Well, why did you get involved with the library ministry, or how'd that come about?
Okay, so we've attended several Sunday school classes throughout the years, and Mike Connard and I think it was Randy Rosencheck had one of their Sunday school classes years ago, and Mike's wife Marty, I seen her coming in here to the library, and I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Well, we have a library and you can check out books." And I hadn't become a member yet. I said, "Well, I'm not a member." She goes, "Doesn't matter. Check out a book. Try this one. What do you like to read?" And so I was kind of hooked ever since then. So then the next thing I knew, I was helping out in the library, helping take one Sunday a month. So that's how I kind of got started reading books in the library. But then as Marty got older, she said, "Toni, why don't you take over?" And she asked me, I don't know how many years. Finally, I said yes. And because I didn't want it to go away. I think a lot of people don't know about the library, and they should. It's just a great escape to hold a book in your hand and read it. Because I read on my Kindle too, but the books in the library are vast and different. Maybe you haven't discovered this author. So,
do you remember when the library was upstairs by the youth room? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
That's the picture I have in my mind, with all the VHSs that my family used to check out, McGee and Me back in the day.
Exactly.
Yep. But now we're here downstairs in what used to be our youth room. So
and it's recently been remodeled, which is part of
True.
what put it on our radar of like how many people don't know we have a library. And
Right.
I can remember Zach Clunt was convinced nobody used it, and he kept dreaming of different things we could do with this space. And I was like, no, people use it. My wife used to use it pretty. She's like, no, nobody uses it. So I'm like, come here. We went through the little card catalog, and I
Hmm.
showed him how many people had checked out books that week.
Right.
And so it was just again, it's not going to replace the public library. It's not going to
No.
replace Kindle and all that kind of stuff. But we thought if we made all the effort to update it, kind of curate it. I know that you spend a lot of time doing that. I send the check requests for when you order new books
Right.
and things like that. And so we've tried to make an effort to that. So we thought we would update all of you on those type of things. So
Mhm.
Tony, give us just a brief synopsis, whatever. What is the purpose, the goal, the vision behind the library?
First, to keep it here, not to have it go away, because I was kind of scared that was going to happen, but
And
we
and
have a lot of supporters
it may someday.
eventually, right?
Yes.
We have a lot of supporters. I know when we were remodeling, Kira and I both wanted a big comfy couch and a big comfy chair so we could curl up with a book, but I don't think the Sunday school classes or the meetings I have in here
It
would like that.
does get used for
So,
multiple purposes. Yes.
right. So I guess you'll have to bring your own chair if you want
There
to
you go.
read. But I would like people to know about it, for one, and that is available to everyone, just not members of the church. Two, I would like to kind of add to our children's section. We don't have very many puzzles at this point, so I'd like to kind of add to that. Um, and that's about it. I
Well,
would like the books we do have. We have a lot of fiction and with great messages, and I wish people would discover that. So,
and there is, and that's, I mean, part of the goal and the vision of the library ministry is to offer
mhm.
those resources. And again, we've tried to expand those, and they've changed over the years. We used to have a fair amount of nonfiction for resources, and we found people weren't using them. And so, okay, well, let's curate that, let's adjust that. What are people using? How do we expand that? Are there things that people would use that we haven't had? I mean, we have a whole shelf of puzzles now
Right.
that I know my mom checks out pretty
Yes.
often.
Yes. It's a.
And
So do we. Yeah.
oh, do you
We've
guys
used
do?
a few. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so there's children books. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, I'd say your number one resource test tends to be Christian women fiction,
Yes.
and that's okay. That's the main person who uses it. But you may not know that we have puzzles, that we have a lot of children's books to check out, and things like that. So
Of
again,
all ages.
yeah.
Mhm.
So just trying to make those things aware, and if there are things that you think, hey, I actually think there's a group of people who would really like this or that. Now, sometimes people idea of what they want and what they actually want are two different things,
Mhm.
and so just in the same way, we can't necessarily have a goal of we just want to make sure this thing doesn't go away. We want to make it useful. If something's useful, if it's helping discipleship in the kingdom, great. If it's not, let's make adjustments. And so I know there are people who use it. We're trying to see, can we make it more useful? And I feel like the adjustments you guys have made have done that. So we want to kind of get the word out on that.
I know you got some props here. So what all is available? I know you mentioned a few things.
Okay, so we'll start with the children's section. It runs from preschool to actually preteen. So there are some even books for your junior hires and preteens, and which I don't think a whole lot of people know, and they should. There's some great series in here. Um, we have the puzzles. We have a lot of fiction. We have historical books, historical romance, which I haven't read a whole lot, but we have a lot of women who do, people who do.
Seems like a lot set in that Amish timeline or that
We
country
have,
timeline.
yes, some Amish.
Prairie. Maybe that's what I should say. Prairie.
Well, we have a lot of Amish murder mysteries, and that's
Oh.
kind of, I know.
That's. I mean, I saw Witness in the '80s, but
Yes, it's
that's about all I
maybe
know
spurred on from that. I
as
don't
far as
know.
Amish murder mysteries.
But I kind of tend to go toward the mystery suspense ones. Those are my favorites. But I remember Dory Tinkham. She just loved Kingsbury historical romantic books.
That's
And
funny.
so, and she would pass them on and promote this library. But we have from all subjects. So we have the fiction, then we have our nonfiction section. We have wrote down all the topics, which I can't find my notes here, but we have parenting books, we have creation, political books, um, political and morality. I don't know why that's together, but it is. Finance, biographies, creation. So a whole array. We even have a section on Alzheimer's that someone had
Oh,
donated
interesting.
to help out with family members if you're taking care of the family members, and so that's very helpful. And parenting books are really good too. And we also have biographies that we even have a few of the, I believe, when we went through all the books, we have some missionaries that had donated some books from their
Excellent.
missions.
Were there any particular books you wanted to highlight? I see a
Okay,
couple sitting here.
sure, I did. And I'm in between reading. You asked what I was reading. I see you all brought your books, but I'm reading the New Testament,
And
right?
that's okay. That's okay.
Same, yeah, me too.
So, but no, I'm kind of in between books. But the one I wanted to kind of highlight was Sarah Sundin. It's a World War II book about flight nurses, about they would fly with the soldiers, wounded soldiers. They would actually go to the field, pick up soldiers, and then bring them back to the hospital. And things I didn't know that. And they would have to wear skirts and
Like you
their
do.
right skirts. They would have to wear dress shoes. They would have to be dressed like they were going to dinner. But they're on this large plane with wounded soldiers trying to tend to their needs. So it was, and there's mystery and in it also, but it was just very eye-opening, and how what happened back in World War I during wartime. And
Which is, again, part of the appeal of the historical fiction. You like the mystery, you like the characters, you find a good author
right,
that you like, and you learn
and
a little bit about the history element. And
right, and they bring Jesus into how their prayer and faithfulness to get on this plane with wounded soldiers in the middle of fighting, in the
that's
middle of
awesome.
war. So
What's the kids one you got there?
the kids one is, this was just brought back. It is The Squire and the Squirrel by Jenny Bishop. Just recently been checked out. Oh, I believe you said you had this.
Yes, we actually own that. I used to read it to the boys back in the
all
day.
the
I mean,
time.
big fantasy book fan, so I'm like,
Right,
it's very
right,
allegorical, and if you will. So again, just gives you a picture of the kind of books that are available even for kids.
right. And several different subjects for children's books. We have angels and I have to cheat. Creation, education, friendship, holidays, and prayer. So there's all kinds of genres for you to pick from.
And we do, Tony and I were just talking about the curation of the puzzles, because there was a puzzle that was like, should this puzzle be in a church? And I think we decided no.
We decided no.
And everything. But, again, a lot of great puzzles. This one's 1,000. Looked like most church. Well, there's a 2,000 set,
That's
but
2000 is about the largest.
the largest. So most of them are 1,000, 750, 500, things like that.
My
So
family did that one in, I think, 2 days. So
this 1,000-piece one?
yeah,
Oh,
One
dang.
right
Wow.
there.
Good
We're
job.
booking it through.
Fogarty's.
It was like a snowy
Uh-huh.
week or something like that.
I
So
gotcha, where you're all kind of in. And
yep.
it's funny. Our family has done puzzles a number of times, and you would just think like, oh, puzzles, it's an old person thing. But it's just
It's
fun
an
how
It can
much
old
you
be
can.
kind of
person thing.
competitive for.
Yeah, and then you want to find that piece and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So, well, good. Well, hopefully that gives people a picture. What does the actual checkout process look like? Because that's probably the most intimidating factor. Now they know there's a library, they
Right.
might come check out stuff, but I know sometimes when I've walked people in, how do you check it out? And I go, I don't know.
Right. Okay.
So,
So all the books should have. I'll just open it right here. I don't know if you
so
can
the
see
old
this.
style
It's
library
the
card.
old style. We have a library card. This one's full, but we just ask you to write your name, or the library will be here. You write your name, and we stamp the date. We stamp the date on the sheet
It looks
attached
like
to
a
the
lot of
book.
people just write the date. Is that okay too?
Some people write the date, and our checkout, it's 3 weeks to keep a book.
Okay.
But if you're going to go over, just let us know. And then we file the card into our little box right here.
So if I was to check
So,
out this book, write my name and my date, I just drop it in like
yes.
that.
And we have a stamper and an ink.
If you want to feel old school, traditional, and
Yes.
I would probably just write the date and drop the card. But
Right. But we do have that available. It's sitting out all the time. So
if you want to trip down memory lane,
right.
at this point, should we just have a card catalog thing to look?
That would be nice. I am slowly making my way around the room in a Google Docs.
Yes, because I remember we tried pretty hard to convert the
Yes.
database, and that was not as fun.
No, I had to recruit my son to do that.
Well, now if I don't expect everybody to remember what we just said, are there instructions next to this if they walk in, they want to check out a book?
Yes. So on the east side of the library, we have just
So it'll just look like this.
it'll
These are
just
your
look like this.
instructions. Everything we just
Instructions.
said, the dates and the yellow card, write your name, put the card in the card box. Items may be checked out for 3 weeks. So even if you don't remember all this, you don't have to try to pull this back up and listen to what they said.
It's right here,
It's all right there.
black and white.
Yep, there you go.
And also, when you're returning, we have this little next to the instructions that says returns of books and DVDs. It's just on the cart.
Okay, you just put it
Over.
right there because
Mhm,
you guys will restock it. They don't have to restock it.
No, you just lay it on
It's
the.
like a real library.
I know.
It's amazing.
It's
It is. Yeah.
pretty simple. Just read the book and let me know how you liked it.
Is there a good time to check things out, or
Okay, so we before service, before Sunday school, we try to have someone here. We alternate different librarians.
Like what time before Sunday? Just 15 minutes before, half hour before?
About 15 minutes
Okay.
before. And in between Sunday school, because there is a Sunday school class in here.
Right, from 8:45 to 9:45.
Right.
Yeah.
And then after Sunday school and before service.
Okay.
So 9:45 to 10.
But you could probably also come after service before you
Right.
leave. You're just doing it on
right.
your own
I
then,
try to pop in.
in case somebody needs some help or
Mm-hmm.
something. Now, obviously, you could come during the week, but you're kind of a roll of the dice of if there's going to be a group in here, But if you wanted to stop by, and the ladies can buzz you in at the front door, and but whether or not there's a Bible study, an impromptu meeting, something going on, you're kind of at the mercy of
Podcast.
a podcast that might happening in the room, and everything. So, yeah. That's you're taking that in your own hands, but the most obvious time would be Sunday morning, which I would imagine that would be what it is. Anything else in the library that we need to know, Tony?
Oh, I wrote a lot of notes, but no, I think we hit all the marks. Come check us out. Check the books. They're a lot of fun to read.
Well,
And you might learn something.
imagine that. Well, for our segment that you already kind of alluded to, that we wanted to do what you read, and you already told us so you have read this one.
I have read that one. I'm
Okay.
in between at the moment.
Gotcha. While you're trying to get through the New
New
Testament
Testament.
chronologically, are you using a physical chronological Bible, or are you just going through the paper
I'm
reading
going
plan?
through our readings and then reading it in my Bible,
Okay, gotcha,
my
gotcha.
physical Bible.
So I'll go first. What you're reading? I'm reading "Do You Believe" with our Building Faithful Men group, and essentially what it is, Paul David Tripp, who wrote our devotional that we did last year, our daily devotional, and it works through I shouldn't say all, a lot of the major theological topics. I know Kevin's already read it with his group, and this is the most interesting part about this one. It'll do the doctrine of Scripture. Okay, it seems good. And then it's Scripture in everyday life, the doctrine of God, God in everyday life. I think tomorrow we're discussing the doctrine of sin and sin in everyday life. And so it tries to take the theological element and then also have the practical element. Now, my experience has generally been that idea is really good on paper more sometimes than the actual application of it. And sometimes I feel like the author just wanted to write the everyday life part. And so usually the theology part's really short and the everyday life part, which is not bad and everything. But there are some theological categories I'm like, why didn't he hit that one? But, he's trying to make the book manageable. So for the most part, it's been good. It's been enjoyable. You enjoyed it, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they especially got into, the applicable parts of things in the second half, the second chapter,
Even more so.
the everyday
Yeah.
life one. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
that seems to be the one he really liked. It seemed like he
yes.
did
Yeah.
he did what he had to do in the first chapter, and then the second chapter would always seems like where his heart's really at, which again is fine. So that's what I'm currently reading. Kevin?
Yeah, I'm doing, obviously, I communicate often and preach. So I'm doing these two. The first one is Communicating for a Change by Andy Stanley. Just kind of a classic. The line that I always remember is, do you want to teach the Bible to people, or do you want to teach people the Bible? Like his differentiating between those two things. Like it's one thing to just talk about, God's perfect word and all of that, but it's another thing when it's like, oh, I have some people in mind, and I'm, with the sheep that I'm walking with all week, and I have a sense of what they're going through, and so I want to, teach people God's word. So
I love that book. I mean, I refer to it all the time. Anytime I show someone how to preach, I basically use the principles out of that book.
yeah, so I read it with Zach a few years ago when he was still here, and now I'm reading it with Damon and Andrew, my intern. But I'm also kind of going along with that is the Christ-centered expositor that we're reading for our BFM group. And this one's harder to read. It's very dense and longer pages, smaller words. And so I know a lot of the guys in the group are just having a hard time getting through it. But I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in there. Like the last chapter I just read was about the main point of the text and the main point of the sermon, and then coming up with sermon titles and his take on that. So and at the same time, Weston and Damon and I are also going through the art of preaching. So it's kind of like the trifecta force of helping me communicate better, which is always the goal. Is we don't want to just stay stagnant. We want to keep growing in our craft. And so yeah, they're kind of all lining up right now for me.
Nice. And you liked Tony Merida. He's the author. He's a preacher, right?
Yes.
I think I've heard you talk about him before. Don't you usually like him?
Yeah.
You see him at a conference?
I think he was at one of the ones, maybe Gospel Coalition that we've been to together.
Sounds familiar. But...
yeah. I think he runs with a lot of those similar guys, David Platt, John Piper.
Right.
He mentions them a lot in his book. So
Gotcha.
Yep.
So that's what you're reading. Feel free to, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment, let us know what you're reading, or maybe a book that you'd like the library to have, and Tony can put it on her wish list.
Yes.
But as that in what you're reading, we always like to have a spiritual segment, and so probably one we visit most often is Redeeming the World, and I wanted to take this segment to kind of ask if there's a particular, because I know, Tony, you and your husband go on a lot of hikes, camping trips. We've talked about that quite a bit, and everything. And is there a favorite or most standout hike, camping, something in God's creation that, yes, it's just part of the world, but man, it makes you stand in awe of God, our creator. And what's the most standout one for you?
It's this was the hardest questions because we've been to so many awesome places that God has created. And I think it's the most emotional one for me. First, having my son, I know that's not vacation, but having a child, I think, is the most how anybody can't know there's a creator when you have children. I don't. But so I'm just gonna go with our most recent trip last fall. We went to Glacier National Park and hiked 18 miles up to look over Grinnell Glacier, and the total hike was 18 miles. um, and it was just spectacular. It was foggy and we were in the clouds, and along with 300 or 400 of our closest friends, that's too many. 100 of our closest friends are walking straight up the mountain, and and you can share things with people. They're just so open when you're out in the open, and the view, we're so small. We are so small. I know you went to Sequoias and your boys are all over 6 feet,
They
and
look so
you're
small.
standing next to a tree that's as long as a soccer field. We are just so small, and I just see the creator in all of he's so good as a gardener and mountain maker and the ocean, um, Kauai, the turtles. It's just fabulous. It's hard for me to pick.
Yeah.
I
That's good. I wanted people to have a sense of just how much you guys love that and do that,
We
because
do.
I always love talking. We've been to a lot of the same places,
Yeah, so we
um,
compare, and I get some advice on what trails to go
yes,
to, and the
um,
Beehive, and
yes, for Acadia
Angels
National
Landing.
Park, for
How to
those
read a
interested.
map or whatever.
Yeah, how to read a map.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah, you guys are
yes.
probably pretty good at reading maps.
For the most part, yes. You can't rely on your
Oh
phone.
no, you definitely
You
can't.
have to get to the top of the mountain before that happens sometimes,
Yeah.
but yes, yes. But I don't know, we live in the country, like I said before, and as if the weather's nice, I walk all year round, and we have the best sunrises and sunsets. That alone, I see that every time I hike. It is so peaceful, and the clouds are just amazing. So
Well, excellent. What about you, Kevin?
I do like when just going off the hiking theme, when we went to the Smoky Mountains, or as Elliot Wingo would say, the Moki Mountains.
Mhm.
Just like waking up and being almost like above the clouds, and you can like see different spots where, yeah, you can look down and see clouds, which is odd to think of. But Psalm 19:1 always comes to mind. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the skies above his handiwork. And just going on a cruise a couple different times, and being in the middle of the ocean at night when the lights are lower, and you can just look up and see how bright the stars actually are when there isn't other light, fighting for attention there. And it's just crazy to see. And obviously we don't live on a flat earth, so sorry to bring that up, but it's yeah, it's wild to see And like Tony was just saying, we've only seen just a tiny bit, and what no eye has seen, ear has heard, mind has comprehended what God has prepared for those who love Him and know Him. So there's so much more than what we've seen, which is pretty incredible.
Man, here you're gonna quote, Psalm, and I'm gonna quote Bear Grylls as the wild is always revealing, because we love Bear Grylls, and everything. But there is something just about being out there that gives you a perspective on yourself. That yeah, you're small and yet you're still loved by the Creator. There's a gospel even in that creation, and I know we've had great
Mhm.
discussions with our boys of just being in
Right.
those type of spaces, because it does seem to just kind of open you up for those type of things. But um, you know, probably the most beautiful place I've been is probably Glacier National Park, and
Mhm.
yet for some reason, when it came to just connecting, call it vibes, call it whatever, just a sense of who God is and connecting with Him. Because some people love to say, well, church, nature is my church, and I love to be out. And I get that to some degree. I think there's a difference in corporate worship and gathering and all that kind of stuff. But probably the closest I feel like I remember experiencing that Rocky Mountain National Park, and I
Mm.
couldn't tell you why. There was just something on the trails we were on, and there was still a amount of people, and it was just kind of raining, and it was June or July, but there was snow on the trail, and it felt almost worshipful. And so I don't want to discredit when people experience that, but I also want to be like, you should experience a bit of that every Sunday.
Right.
I mean, you should be living that out on the regular basis of your life. I understand the unique experience of, going to someplace amazing and getting a glimpse of God's creation. I mean, standing amongst the trees in Sequoia National Park is an awe-inspiring thing as well. But for whatever reason, Rocky Mountain National Park was kind of mine. And like I said, I mean, we did the smaller version of the Grinnell Glacier hike. So maybe it's just because
Mhm.
I didn't get the full experience of that. But um,
Yeah.
ours was like 9 miles, round trip, not 9 miles one way like your guys's. But anyway, so would also love to hear, if you have a favorite place where you feel like you have most stood in awe of God's creation. Feel free to let us know. Tell us on a Sunday morning or tell us in the comments. But until next time, this has been the Bethel Culture Podcast.
All right.
Thanks for stopping by.